A very warm welcome back to your latest aviation news recap. Today there is coverage on the Airbus A350-1000 at Japan Airlines, an aircraft retirement at a major US carrier, or should I say an aircraft manufacturer departure, VietJet expansion into Australia, and KLM news. But beginning right off the bat with probably the biggest story, that is Alaska Airlines operating its final Airbus A321 flight a couple of evenings ago, and thus its last flight with an Airbus-produced plane. Operating as AS1126 from Seattle to Los Angeles, the aircraft departed at 6:50 p.m. local time before touching down in Los Angeles just over 2 hours later. Hundreds tracked the A321neo, registered as N921VA on flight radar. Alaska Airlines retiring its Airbus fleet has been a long time in the making, it must be said. Some would say it was always destined to happen, it was a matter of when rather than if. Known as an all-Boeing operator for its mainline fleet, when Alaska acquired Virgin America, which operated an all-Airbus fleet, the two worlds really collided, and as a result, Alaska received these Airbus aircraft and would eventually paint them in their own colours. However, during the height of the global pandemic, the airline did announce its intent to retire all Airbus-produced aircraft. It was noted at the time that by 2023, they were hopeful that all these jets would be removed, and in line with the guidance issued some now 3 years ago, the last Airbus aircraft has been retired before year's end. A decision made by critical executives was part of a general simplification process at the airline that would see them move towards, once more, Boeing-powered jets, excluding those Embraer ones that fly for their regional operations. Retirement was always going to be a hefty process, and yes, while it was technically aided already by the pandemic and the large grounding of units, the carrier did still have well over 50 Airbus-produced aircraft available to them that they did eventually need to retire. Notably, the first ones to go were those Airbus A320s and the A321s, naturally being the last. These Airbus aircraft, especially the Neos, are relatively young, therefore you'd imagine they'll have no trouble finding another home, with a lot of discussion around American Airlines acquiring the type. However, lovers of these Airbus aircraft will be disappointed to see Alaska moving back to more Boeing-powered jets again, including the 737 MAX series. However, for Alaska Airlines, they truly believe that they have more benefits continuing with one plane maker generally than, say, working together with Airbus and Boeing-powered planes for their mainline fleet. What are your thoughts on Alaska Airlines retiring the last Airbus-produced aircraft in their fleet? Let me know down below. Meanwhile, Japan Airlines has unveiled the cabin of its Airbus A350-1000 in preparation for first delivery and commencements of operations. The Japanese carrier was initially expected to launch the A350-1000 service between Tokyo Haneda and New York JFK in November of this year. However, that has now been delayed to the end of this year at the earliest. Why is this, you may ask? Well, delays in aircraft deliveries aren't entirely uncommon. It is becoming the new industry norm of late. Japan Airlines cites the ongoing supply chain disruption has affected the delivery of critical components for the plane. And as for the aircraft itself, and specifically the cabin, well, Japan Airlines says they've carefully designed it to immerse customers in the elegance of Japanese aesthetics, providing tranquility and a sense of ambience. The seats in all classes have been completely redesigned as JAL attempts to offer the most comfortable experience in their fleet to date. Notably, the first class will see an arrangement of 6 suites to create a unique environment, and for the first time they've added individual doors to the suites, which does increase privacy. The seating can be turned into 3 modes, whether that be a sofa seat, a single bed, or a double bed, and they've also said they've introduced the world's first headphone-free stereo with built-in speakers. Business class will see 54 seats, an increase on other aircraft that's aided generally thanks to the Dash 1000's larger capacity. However, JAL assures that they've still included ample spacing and prioritised the overall comfort. Business class will also have doors alongside overhead storage compartments only on the window side as they look to create a more open atmosphere. Premium economy features more significant privacy options, an electric leg rest that can be adjusted to the passenger's preferred position too, and just generally a 1.3% 30% larger in-flight entertainment screen than the previous model. Economy has also been further enhanced with improved seating. No doubt many are excited to see Japan Airlines debut the A350-1000, hopefully sooner rather than later. Over to VietJet. Well, they've announced that they'll inaugurate services between Ho Chi Minh City and Adelaide in Australia. The newly announced connection will debut on November 21st with 5 weekly return flights. Interestingly though, the flight will not operate non-stop from Vietnam to Adelaide. Instead, it will utilise Perth as a pretty vital part of the route. The service will launch on the same day as Perth and continue onwards to Adelaide, acting as almost a triangular route. For example, VietJet will touch down in Perth at 2:20 p.m. before departing at 3:20 p.m. It arrives local time into Adelaide at 9:10 p.m. on Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays. The aircraft will then have an overnight layover in Adelaide before departing at 7:25 in the morning. VietJet is heavily committed to offering low-cost flights between Australia and Vietnam, which is really becoming an increasingly more important market with a lot of competition. You have Jetstar, Vietnam Airlines, Bamboo, and VietJet all competing in the Australian market to really capture the travel demand that is there. They're each really looking to outdo each other with high-quality service, cheap flights, and attractive timings. The airline also notes that in December, its already 3 existing cities of Melbourne and Sydney and also Brisbane will see a boost in operations too. KLM has announced a pretty major expansion to its global network this upcoming winter season. The airline says it will add Marseille as part of its European network starting on October 29th. A commitment to this city is seen through a thrice daily service. KLM says it will also expand its presence in Finland with a twice-weekly service, while it will look to build growth right across Europe, with a rise in 7% of seats available thanks to continued growth year on year. Africa will see 2 destinations in South Africa alone. This does include Johannesburg and Cape Town, but the likes of Nairobi, Nigeria, Rwanda, and Uganda will all see services. Tanzania, too. North America will see 19 destinations with daily service to Washington, and notably for Canada, there will be a 20% increase in seats offered to the likes of Toronto, Edmonton, Montreal, Calgary, and Vancouver. South America is also present, and Asia and the Middle East will see substantial growth too, with Riyadh notably getting a service increase. Beijing and Shanghai are present. Hong Kong will witness growth by 1 extra weekly flight, and there are also your staples such as Tokyo Narita. Unfortunately, Barbados, Kuwait, Bahrain, and Muscat will all be removed from the network for this winter. If you have any thoughts on today's aviation news recap, you can let me know down below in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions. As always, a channel for the community. I'll see you at the same time tomorrow for more coverage on the inner workings and latest developments of the aviation world. And we'll